bring the energy, he'll do the rest. Martinez and Company, powered by Sports Radio 102.9 The Game.
You're going to hear it right here.
The show starts now.
Good morning, everybody out there around the world. And the folks that are tuning in from Finland, we do appreciate it as well. We thank you all for who listens across here, the great United States of America, all over our great nation, all over the world. We do appreciate you all coming and watching the show. Martinez and Company from 10 to 12 here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the Coastal Sports Network. Also brought to you by Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. You guys can always visit the website sr1029thegame.com. And don't forget to download the digital sports app. Therefore, you won't miss a show. And then you can always go back and watch the replay of the shows a little bit later on throughout the day. As of obviously today, I have to upload 3 different shows at 3 different times. So it'll be a delay as far as the beginning of the replays on our shows, but you guys will be able to listen to the audio replay as well a little bit later throughout the day. Now, I want to go back to the Tyreek Hill video because when it came out, as far as the body cam, it came out after we were off air. And so I want to go back and revisit it because there was a lot of comments that were made on the socials, only because, everybody's going to have the right. And the good thing is that we're all entitled to our opinions. That's the best thing ever in our great nation, even though they try to take away our voices, a la Facebook. But, the best part is that we try to do the best that we can to share opinions with everybody. You go somewhere and you have a conversation with someone. The best part is that you can get into, and I wouldn't say it was like a heated argument or anything else like that, but you could be at a, family event, you could be at a bar, you could be wherever, and you'll raise your voice just a little bit because you want to be overheard over somebody else, right? Even if that's a word, but you want to be heard in a conversation. And so I just want to go back to Tyreek's video here in a little bit because of not only the way the police officers had acted. And again, I've always supported the local police, sheriff's department. Sometimes you guys will see me tweet stuff about the sheriff's department as well. Does it mean that every single one of them are good? No. Are every single one of them bad? No, they're not. That's anywhere, any branch, anywhere you go, there's always, and I think my hermano has said it a while ago, was there's always a bad apple somewhere, no matter what. But before we get to that, let's not forget today, 9/11, 23 years ago, and the first tower was already hit. And then the second tower is being hit before both towers being taken down. Now, and you guys have heard me say that I've never tried to go into politics or anything else like that because I like to have fun here on the network as we do. But there are certain things that you have to take into consideration here as far as the seriousness and the severity of certain things. 9/11, no one should ever forget, as the New York Police Department, the New York Fire Department, and we've heard stories, obviously they've battled back and forth, but that day they didn't care. The first responders, medics, all these people that ran into both of those towers to try to get people to come out of those towers, as many as they could, alive, and then being trapped in between the floors, and inevitably when both towers end up coming down. Now, you got to think about that. Being part of our great armed forces, yeah, did I run the danger? Of course. That's what I had to do. That's what I volunteered to do. No one came to my front door back in Philly and asked me, hey, you need to put on this uniform, and here you go. We didn't have a draft. I chose, right? Volunteered. Now, I wish the government would do better for us veterans, regardless if you serve 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 20 years, retired, whatever. I think they should do better to look out for people because a lot of us have, post-traumatic things that happen in our life. A lot of it comes because of our health as well, places that we've been to, the injections that we would get. We have no idea what was in those injections. But we would hope that the military would do a better job rather than seeing we see where you can donate. I think it's $11 a month. And I think it's to Twin Towers, to some of the programs. I don't understand why to this day still the government can spend $1 trillion on whatever they want to call it, global warming, blah, blah, blah. You can spend $1 trillion there. And I don't know, do you give the $1 trillion to the sun and wave the $1 trillion and just say, hey, son, can you cool down a little bit? Okay, whatever. They spend it, that's it. Why can't we take that same $1 trillion and help out those of us who volunteered, including the police officers who obviously have to take a test to get in, but the same thing, they applied for the job, our firefighters, are the people that work in our hospitals. Why isn't there a funding for all of us that served our community and country, local, state police, the whole 9 yards, and just say, hey, if you guys actually need this medical attention, here's what you can have. No, we have to fight with the government in order to be seen, whether being at a VA. My dad for years has been fighting with the government. Why? Because when he left from the military, his health wasn't that great. And so he tries year after year after year to get them to hear his story, and it goes on deaf ears. So you go back to 9/11, things were known what was going to happen. And yet, because of a particular president and his popularity at the time, didn't want to deal with it, so he passed the buck on to the next person. Now, mind you, still, it's the government, right? So even if you try to say, well, this president to that president, it's still the government. It's still DC. Everybody there knew what was going on. Everybody. So can I point fingers at a president if I want to? Sure. But it was the entire government when there was things that were on the radar. It was not told. There were guys that were down here in Florida, let's not forget, that ended up in Boston to come out of Boston Logan, then ended up flying the planes into the Twin Towers. That there was a gentleman here that said, hey, there's a problem, FBI. There's a problem, CIA. These guys, they just want to know how to fly. They don't want to learn how to take off the plane. They don't want to learn how to land the plane. And then here we are. Right? Come to find out that after all that was all said and done, look at the end result. Was both of our Twin Towers in New York, World Trade Center 1 and 2, both go down. And not to include the other smaller buildings, because don't forget, when they came down, they also came down with a bunch of other buildings as well. There was a lot of damage in that area. Not to include the human damage element, which is the worst, because families who had loved, someone put out a tweet, I think earlier this morning, when he talked about, I think it was like some 2,600 people were going to bed the night before, right? September 10th. They went to bed not knowing what tomorrow was going to bring. They were just getting ready to go to work. Your first responders were all getting ready to go to work. Everybody who worked in the towers, everybody was just going to go to work the very next day. And then here's what ended up happening. Not to include the heroes in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, who took the plane down so it wouldn't be flown into the White House like the other plane that was flown into the Pentagon. There's things in our society. If you choose not to educate yourself and see what this government has done, and trust me when I tell you, love my country, I love serving my country, I do it all again if I was ever called to do so. But there's things in this world, in our society, you got to pay a little more close attention to. Big things are every 4 years in November. Who you put in there, you have to look, do your homework, right? I'm not going to say anything negative about one or the other, but do your homework and just figure out, what are their policies? What have they done in their past? Is there something that doesn't resonate with you? And if it comes down to, will you say, you know what? I don't want to choose. Be independent. You know, if you don't want to go blue side, red side, go independent. But do your homework, because from 9/11 forward, there's never been a more prevalent time in our society where we really have to pay attention of the people, the policies, and what they do. And you hear about, just like Tyreek Hill, where basically almost being, taking away his own rights that day from being pulled over, which we believe is excessive. And I'm going to bring up the video here in a little bit because I want to hear people's comments. I want to hear your suggestions. 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. Don't forget, we're all over the social media. So, make your comments known so we can get together and we can talk about this. But my thing is that you have a government and you have to see the people that are in there. what's important to a lot of us right now is obviously food, daycare, all that stuff. You got to make sure that the people we put into place, right? Because last we checked, if you work $9.50 an hour, $10.50, $12.50, $15, and you try to rent an apartment, you have about 2 or 3 jobs that you have to take in order to pay for such bills. At the same time, when 9/11 rolled around, the government knew what was going on and went on deaf ears. Why? Because the FBI and the CIA love to argue with each other. I think personally, if you're going to wipe the slate clean, wipe it clean so that we feel when we go to bed at night and wake up in the morning, we feel our nation's protected. But you guys already see what goes on down south. Again, without trying to make it more than the obvious, but if you allow for all these things to happen, eventually what becomes the melting pot of the United States, something bigger is probably going to happen. Why? Because once again, the government allows it to happen. 9/11 should have never happened, period. It shouldn't have and could have been avoided. And let's not forget that those Twin Towers were attacked 2 other times prior to 9/11. Because the whole idea was this asphyxiation that the world has with New York is absolutely insane to me. And New York is always on a target list. God bless the men and women who live in New York. I personally live in Philadelphia. I mean, it's not that far away if you're going up the turnpike. But for me, I don't see the reason why I want to stay in lower Manhattan or within the 5 boroughs. And I'm not saying by all means just run. But at the same time, too, there's always that target. And it's anywhere, too. I mean, it could be here in Florida. It could be in Alaska. It could be in California, out in L.A., San Fran. I mean, it could be in the middle of the Midwest, Oklahoma, Nebraska. So it could be anywhere. But just be careful by your surroundings because, again, you have to entrust in people to make sure that they are looking out for your best interest. And they should have looked out for our best interest because there's a lot of family members today that never woke up the same after 9/11. They will go down to the memorial. They'll ring the bell. They'll list the names. But does the government really hear? Do they listen? Do they care? You got to understand that 9/11 is the most tragic day ever in our society. Planes still fly. People still travel. Everybody goes on about their day. No one should ever forget 9/11. Never. When your kids are born, at one point or another, they're going to be exposed to it. Talk to them about that day. You don't have to make it graphic. You don't have to say, whatever you choose about it, but make sure when you let them know, educate them. Let them know exactly what happened. It was a day for whatever on God's green earth, terrorist organizations just felt, you know what? We need to do a lot of damage. Did anyone think, and they probably had no idea either, that 2 fully loaded jets with jet fuel would end up taking down those towers? I don't know if that was the ultimate goal, which should have never been a goal in the first place. But it angers me to this day because it makes absolutely no sense that we have lost so many first responders, so many men and women in uniform, so many families that Lord knows how many wives could have been expecting their first, children that were left without their mom and dad, families that were left without their brothers and sisters, without their grandparents, aunt, uncle, you name it. There are certain things in our society, a lot of people need to wake up and realize the people that you put in place every 4 years has to look for the best interest in our world. And if you're just going to go by because, oh, he's dumb, oh, she's dumb, oh, he's smart, oh, she's smart, if you're just going to go by that, you're not doing your research. Take a look. When we get ready for football games, what do we all do, right? We research. Everybody gets their fantasy football out. All right, last week, so-and-so didn't do that well. All right, I'm going to bench him, put this guy in because I think he had a bad week last week. So if you guys have time to do so, then take the time to make sure. Come, especially this November, think about everything that is going on. Look at what's going on in different states. All right. And there could be rumors, there could be speculations, whatever the case may be. No one can say that there is not a bunch of illegal folks that came in through our borders and are now here. And at one point, there's going to be an act of desperation where if those folks don't have a place to go, they're going to end up in your house. Do we want to see another 9/11? Is that what it's going to take for this United States of America to be once again solidified and saying that everything is going to be great in our society? No, that should never happen. Rick joins us on the line. Rick Marcus, how are you? Rick, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. How are you, Rick?
Yeah. I just wanted to share where I was and what happened on 9/11. I was working out of Orlando, temping in Fort Walton Beach when 9/11 happened. And I was actually in a hotel room and I got a phone call. I was working the afternoon shift, but I got a phone call in the morning. And it was my stepfather who asked me if I was watching television. And I said, no, I was sleeping. I got up, I turned on the TV, and I saw the second plane hit the second tower. And basically what happened was it felt like a dream. I didn't even think it didn't even feel real to me. I got up, rushed over to the airport, and if anyone knows about Fort Walton Beach, their airport is an actual Air Force base, which is Eglin Air Force Base. The people there scrambled like I've never seen. Within a few minutes, there were German Shepherd dogs, all types of dogs around the airport sniffing for luggage, whatever it was that they were looking for. Obviously, everything was grounded. We had another person who was traveling from Melbourne through Atlanta to get back here. And it was a funny thing. It was a girl who was supposed to be coming back. She was on her days off and she got stuck in Atlanta because nothing was moving. And basically what happened is she met up with some people who were also from Melbourne, and the person happened to be the owner of a car dealership. There were no rental cars. That's how quick they went. And the guy actually went to a dealership, bought a car, and they all drove back to Melbourne. We went to the rental car place where we were at in Fort Walton Beach. And they said, well, we don't rent cars to go one way. It's just local. There was 4 of us, and we were, throughout the state of Florida where we had to get back, Fort Lauderdale, Melbourne, Orlando, so on. And we got the rental car, and we had to call Delta actually to get them to call the rental car place to get us a way home because we had no way home. And there was nothing we could do while we were up there. So I think it took us 7 hours to get home. And finally, the rental car agreed to give us a car to drive home. And the last person was Fort Lauderdale, and they actually dropped off the car. But it was one hell of a day.
No, and I think that's the worst part, where a lot of people that, yes, they were stranded because no one knew. Initially, no one had a clue what was going on. And I apologize if you guys hear some noise in the background. Obviously, the landscape company's here with their weekly visit. But, the people who had no idea what was going on, because you got to think about it, if you were on a plane, you had no clue what was happening, because it's not like the pilots for the planes who made it safely back to the ground after finally the FAA figured out that, when it took a couple of phone calls for them to realize what was going on. And I can't at this point, Rick, either. Like I'm not there to say when you weren't there, but I couldn't imagine being, part of an airport somewhere and somebody calls in and they say, hey, we're being hijacked. I mean, you don't know. They go through the drills, but it's different going through a drill and then the live fire actually happening. So I couldn't imagine what had happened. I mean, the air traffic controllers and everything they had to do that day in order to bring the rest of those planes down safely. But yeah, there were a lot of people that were stranded. They couldn't go anywhere. They were stuck. Some people were stuck out even on the West Coast and were trying to get back home to the East Coast because we didn't know. That night, that entire day, we had no idea what was coming next. We didn't know if we were going to be attacked here in our own soil, obviously more than what we already were, at the Pentagon, Schwenksville when they took down the plane, and obviously in New York. So a lot of people were stranded everywhere. And I thank you for sharing the story, but it's 23 years later, and a lot of us still remember it just like it happened over 5 minutes ago. And for those who don't forget, will always remember what ended up happening. But the same way, like I mentioned on Pete Show earlier this morning, I was at the Hartford and I was doing a speech with Toastmasters, and they turn on the TV And there it is. All the action's right there. And then people were asking me questions like, what's going to happen next? And when I mentioned they're not going to take the president directly back to D.C., and then the initial reports that were made by ABC that said, well, we understand they're about to take President Bush back to D.C., it never happens that way. There's always a decoy element into everything because we had no idea what was going to be up in the air. And if I'm President Bush at the time, even though he finally had 2 F-16s that escorted him, but you had no idea what was coming. What if there was, some ground fire that came down? So there was so much stuff that went on that day. I remember the world being eerily quiet, probably, and especially Philly, as much as I do, Rick. It's as noisy and as busy as New York, or if not even worse. But to go home that day and not hear anything, you could probably hear the grass flowing in the front of your yard. So
it was definitely quiet. One of the things I just wanted to point out was the thing that I did afterwards. After 9/11 happened, I was able to go. I flew into Philadelphia, and then on Christmas Day, I actually went to Ground Zero with a buddy of mine, and it was really cold. I remember that. But one of the things that a couple things stuck out to me. One, seeing those guys working on Christmas Day. You had the union, whatever unions were there, and then you had the firefighters, and you had it was actually the engineers, the firefighters, and the police. Unfortunately, the truth is that I saw a lot of police that were in this makeshift place that they could relax and get warm and eat donuts and coffee and everything. They were sitting down while the engineers were frantically working with the firefighters to try to find the people that were in that mess. And then you see a flatbed tractor trailer come out with I've never seen it in my life until that point, where it was a fire truck that was completely pancaked. It was flat. But the thing that was really eerie to me was looking at the light poles and seeing all those, I guess for the air, to test the air, they were on light poles from all the debris and everything. And looking at different trees and stuff, one or even light posts. One of them would have pieces of metal hanging from it while the other one was untouched. And for some reason that affected me in a strange way. And then later on, a few months later, I was able to go to the Pentagon. And what kind of ticked me off were people who think there was some sort of a conspiracy and that bombs were placed on these planes. Well, if someone wanted to get in touch with the FBI and find out where this stuff is, there's actually a museum with all the parts from that American Airlines plane who flew right over the Sheraton Hotel where I was staying at that time. And it actually bounced on the ground and into the Pentagon. But to see the memorial, I would say, people, if you have the chance to go, you got to go, because it explains everything. You have these, little monuments that point outwardly. Those were the people who died in the Pentagon, and the ones that point inwardly towards the Pentagon were the ones that were on the plane. And it'll touch your heart because there were little children on that plane, and then there were elderly adults. It's just it's a beautiful setup, but I'll tell you, it's really sad. If you go there, it'll touch your heart for sure.
Oh, it will. It will. And I remember when they started talking about it, they were going to put it together so everybody, because there was, you had the, Jesse Ventura conspiracy theory was something stalagmite or some crazy thing he talked about. They had put on the beams inside the buildings, some other stuff. There was all kinds of crazy conspiracy theories that came out, but there's no conspiracy theory that the buildings were taken down. And again, who knew if the terrorists even thought at that point that it was going to end up happening? But it's a day that you visually, you want to forget what happened, but mentally it's never going to go away, because the visuals are always going to be there. And even we watched a Netflix special not so long ago, myself and Debbie, and from what we saw, what we heard, it really tugs at the heart a lot, and you get really frustrated because the first thing you want to do is go blow up the person who did it. And then you look at Afghanistan years later, and to pull out the way that happened, it was like 9/11 all over again, because you left people there that you knew for a fact you should pull them out. So it's a sad day. I hope that no one ever forgets. I hope people, in schools, educate today's children, today's society, to let them know that this should never happen again.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Rick, thank you so much for your phone call. I do appreciate it.
No worries. Have a great show.
Thank you. All right, that was Rick Marcus. Again, you guys want to call into the show, you can, 727-858-6650. You can text the show as well, 727-858-6650. Of course, you can make your comments here right on social media. So there's a lot of aggravation with a lot of people. We hope that it never happens again. But again, it cannot be said enough. Please, whatever you do this year, this November, make sure we put the right people in the right place all over our government. I don't care what Taylor Swift says. I don't care what friggin' Ellen DeGeneres says. I don't care what these musicians, these actors, don't give a crap. The athletes, the same thing. And I'm saying this because it's you. If you have to listen to a Taylor Swift to tell you who you should vote for, then you're not doing the research. Do the research. Do what makes sense to you. Make sure you put the right people in the place, because don't forget, it's not just about me. It's just not about you. It's about all of us. And we never want 9/11 to happen again. All right. We're going to go into a break. Pete had showed a video earlier today, as he had mentioned, about Budweiser. And that was the first time I ever saw it. And maybe I saw it that day and it never really dawned upon me. But it was the Budweiser Clydesdales, and they show them going into Manhattan, over the Brooklyn Bridge, and then eventually they end up looking over into where the Twin Towers were, and then putting their heads down and taking one hoof up to remember the folks who had lost their lives today. So always remember to thank a first responder. Thank your law enforcement, even though, yes, we saw what happened with Tyreek Hill, which we'll get into it on the other side of the break. But don't forget to remember those folks that put their lives on the line and run to danger. One is to make sure to keep you free, at least for now, because God knows what's going to end up changing here. But the people who keep you free so you can do and say whatever you want, because your voice and your opinion, in my opinion, will always matter, no matter what. We're never going to agree upon everything, because we're not. Right? But we can have fun in the process. We can have debates in the process. We can do things that make a lot of sense, or we can have fun. And we may not speak the same language. You know what? Then do like you see on the commercials there, where they pull out their Google Translate and they translate for them. But just make sure your voice is always heard. We thank you for listening to Martinez coming here once again, 10 to 12, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Of course, here on the Coastal Sport Network. All over the social medias as well. Not on my Facebook page, on Pete's Facebook page. And I will not be back on my Facebook page as far as SR because of what Facebook chose to do. Just letting you know. So if you're looking at it, if you're looking for it over on SR 1029, the Broad Street South Facebook page, it will no longer be there because, again, Facebook chose to do what they did. And I'm just irritated by it in the first place, because it makes no sense where it's okay for someone to take away whatever you worked hard for. That would be like me going to someone's house and they won a Lifetime Achievement Award, and then I decided to go into their house, take it off their mantle, and break it in front of them, tell them, yeah, I didn't like it, so I don't even know who you are. So don't let your voice go silent. All right, after the break, we'll get into the Tyreek Hill video. Because there was a lot of comments that were made yesterday. You heard Michael Wilbon also talk about driving while black. We also heard Stephen A. had mentioned his thoughts about it. So I want to get into it because, again, I know Tyreek Hill now is calling for that officer to be fired. And not for nothing, could have things been handled differently? Yes. But that one particular officer, it might have been two, but at least the one was beyond aggressive as he was taking a look to arrest anybody who had stopped that day. So we'll get into that and some more. Don't forget, you can text and call into the show, 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. We're going to take a break. It is Martinez and Company here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. We'll be right back.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jimmy the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu. Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it gardenia. It's pronounced Jardiniere.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class, let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Download the Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game app and tell your friends that Florida has a new leader in digital sports radio.
All right, welcome back. Thank you all for tuning in to Martinez Company. I am Angel Martinez, host here of Martinez Company, co-host and executive producer for the Pete Shepard Show, as Pete Shepard gets our morning kicked off every day, Monday through Friday from 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you like to wake up extra early on the West Coast at 4 a.m., we are already on the air. You guys can find us all over the social medias. You can follow us at SR1029 The Game on X, CSN Florida also on X. And then, of course, every show will be replayed, and you can listen to the audio replay on SR1029thegame.com. So you can go there over to the Sports Radio tab, and then you can listen to the replays of the show. Also, check out the rest of the content that's out there. Obviously, USF, men and women's soccer, who both came out winners this week as well, as they're getting ready for their next match. Don't forget, this weekend, this Saturday, you'll have the Tampa Bay Sun Football Club. We'll be celebrating Hispanic Heritage Night out on Riverside Stadium. So you guys, if you have not purchased your tickets, there's tickets still available. You can visit TampaBaySunFC.com or go directly to SR1029thegame.com. Click on the Tampa Bay Sun icon, and then it'll take you directly to the website where you can purchase your tickets, as we have the Tampa Bay Sun USF covered here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game. So, Tyreek Hill, and everybody, I know it's been a couple days. I know now he's calling for the removal of the one officer. And because I'm playing this, only because I didn't have the opportunity, is that I had mentioned earlier, that day when the news came out, we were already done for the day that afternoon. So I want to bring it up because one is you can hear the one officer, and I think it's the second one. So if you look on the screen right there, for those who are listening in on the Sports Radio app, there's two officers on their bikes, and Tyreek Hill now at this point is pulled over. The first officer approaches, taps on his window, knocks on it, bangs on it, however which way it would want to be worded. And then the second one is right behind him. Now, at the time, there was the third, which you can't see until later on, the third motor cop that was there. And it looks like the second one turns around and lets the other one know it's Tyreek Hill. So they've already identified, at least the other one identified who it was. Now, there's a lot of stories that came out, and yes, you shouldn't have to throw your name. I mean, if I get pulled over somewhere, I tell them, don't you know who I am? Cop be like, no. I'm like, good. I don't know either. Because I'm just another average citizen to the officers pulling me over. Now, like everything else, if you cooperate and make sure you do the right things, then am I saying that it may not, that the officers will be compliant as well? No, sometimes you just have, just like you at your job. Sometimes there's something that triggers you, and the rest of the day you're upset. And then the first person that comes across, unfortunately, they get it, and they had nothing to do with whatever, end up driving you nuts. So when it comes to the Tyreek Hill situation, the one officer was just almost like a rampage. And he just wanted to arrest everyone and anyone who stopped. So here's the video. I'm going to play in its entirety. And then again, you guys can, you can chime in with your thoughts over the social medias here, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Rumble. Of course, you can also make your live comments on the app as well, which I'll end up getting it here. And if you're watching live over on the website, you can make your live social media comments there as well. So here's the entire video. And then we'll get into some of the sounders that we heard, a couple from Tyreek Hill himself, and then what we hear from Michael Wilbon. And then later on, if I can also find the one with Stephen A. Smith, and you can hear what Stephen A. Smith has to say as well. So here is the video for those who are watching here on the social medias and over on the website. And if you're listening in on the app, here is the entire audio.
Why don't you have your seatbelt on? Why don't you have your seatbelt on? Why what? Why do you have it up? Keep it down. Hey! Keep your window down. Annie. Hey, keep your window down. Keep your window down. I'm gonna get you out of the car. As a matter of fact, get out of the car. Give me your ass, bro. Get out of the car. Give me your ass, bro. Break that freaking window. Get out of the car. Get out of the car right now. We're not playing this game. Get out. 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 What part of that don't you understand? Hey, Drew, I'm getting arrested, Drew. I'm getting arrested. I'm getting arrested, Drew. I'm getting out, bro. God damn, twin. When we tell you to do something, you do it. You understand?
I'm getting out,
You
bro.
understand? Not what you want, but what we tell you.
I'm getting
You're a little
out.
fucking confused.
I'm getting out, bro.
Too late.
Chill,
Too
bro.
late.
All right, bro. Take
Too
me to
late.
jail, bro. Do what you gotta do, bro.
We are. We will.
Good, bro.
It is good.
Hey, Drew. Hey,
Don't worry about it. I hung up the phone. You stop crying.
bro. Y'all
Don't move.
good. Bro, you
Sit 'em
beating
up.
on my window like you crazy.
Just sit him up.
Why y'all beating on my window like y'all crazy for? Damn, yo, bro, dude, beating on my window like he crazy. I ain't do nothing, twin. Damn.
Hey, don't park there. Don't park there.
Hey. Hold on, twin, hold on. Hold on, bro. I just had surgery on my knee. I just had surgery on my knee, bro. I just had surgery
Really?
on
What
my
a
knee, bro.
coincidence. I just heard you in your ears when we come there. Put your window
chill,
down.
bro. Chill, bro. Hey, Joe New, bro.
Back up.
Hey, call Drew. Call Drew. Call Drew. Call Drew. Call Drew. Hey, call Drew. Call Drew, bro. Call Drew. Call Drew. Hey, call Drew, bro. Hey, what? Hey, call Drew, bro. Just call Drew. Hey.
What am I doing that's wrong?
Hey, listen.
Hey, listen. Hey, man, they got Tyreek. The cops over here beating on him,
Listen.
man. They over here beating on Tyreek,
Listen, big
man.
man, don't park there, man. Just get in
Hey,
the
yo,
car.
hey, Drew, you gotta come, man.
Just get in the car.
Right out the side, on the side of the,
Hey, get in the car. You're parked in the middle of the street.
I'm in the car.
You gotta go before you get a ticket.
Hey, you're in the car.
Who's the driver? This is my car.
All right, move.
All right, I'll take that.
You gotta move right now.
Let me have your license. You're gonna have a ticket too. I'm coming.
Let me have your license. You're gonna have a ticket. Let me have your license.
I'm leaving.
I'm not playing. Let me have your license.
Leaving. Yo, what's
Your
going
license
on?
right now.
Sir, what's going on,
Your license
man?
right now. You're not gonna give me your license?
Hey,
Get in the car and leave.
You're not gonna give me your license?
I'm leaving. Let me have your license.
leaving,
Your
man.
license
I'm
right now.
leaving. Sir, you want me to
Hey,
leave?
your license right now.
I'm leaving.
Or I'm gonna lock you up.
just told
Your
me to
license
leave.
right now.
He just told me to
Your
leave.
license right now.
Sir, he just-
You're dealing with me now.
Sir.
Your license right now.
Now, somebody from the 215 just texted in and said, excessive choke move? Yes, indeed. And that's the reason why I wanted to replay this, because we can even break it down more than that. Hey, I'm sorry. It was Duncan Dad. So, Duncan Dad, thank you for chiming in. But yeah, it was an excessive choke move. Way an excessive choke move. It didn't make any sense. Like, and then you hear the one officer who decided to say, oh, you didn't have the surgery on your ears when we told you to put the windows down, right? So now, instead of de-escalating the situation, you want to now escalate it even more. To then hear Tyreek Hill saying that he just has surgery on his knee, and then you force him down. Again, he didn't get out the car and shoot anybody. He didn't get out the car and punch you. And then to turn around and say you weren't getting out the car, you were trying to rip the door off the hinges and automatically reached in. So if you're asking, so there's a difference, right? Now, the one thing I will say, should have Tyreek Hill left his window down? Sure, right? The right thing would be that, and could you have put your passenger window down? Yep, you could have done that as well. And Casper Guy says, that dude has a short man complex. It could have been, right? I told you guys can make your opinions. You can say whatever you want here, right? You've heard people say that they have sometimes a Napoleon complex, but it's insane how quickly they wanted to super escalate the situation instead of, and you're as a peace officer, you are supposed to always, no matter what the situation is, no different than when we were trained in the military, to try to de-escalate the situation first. But he was just ready to rumble. I mean, even when he walked up to the car, you're knocking on the car, whatever, you tell Tyreek to put the window down, and Tyreek cracks it a little bit, and then he says, put the window down, and he finally eventually puts the window down, asks him for his license, whatever. Starts in with, it became hostile so fast. It was ridiculous how quick it was. Then there were people putting out there that he was doing 102 miles an hour, only to find out that's been debunked. He wasn't doing 102 miles an hour. He was speeding a little more than he's supposed to have in that area, but he wasn't going 102 miles an hour. So that was debunked. So we're still waiting for the reports. You saw the statement that was put out by the Benevolent Association a couple of days ago, and it was crazy how that statement came out, and it almost pretty much said that believe whatever you want to believe, here's a statement. Well, then the body cam footage tells the story. Because if you're supposed to be approaching someone and ask them, like, even if they were speeding, now, if, God forbid, they hit a woman or a child or a baby in a stroller or a man or a kid, an animal, whatever, here in Florida, right, our cranes, as far as the birds, they're everywhere around the world. They're everywhere on the highways. And you have to pay attention because a lot of times they're not always on the highway, but you could be driving somewhere and they land on the highway because they don't know any better. And I've seen a couple of people hit it. Now, do I go and run the person off the road and tell them, hey, did you see what you just did back there? If I'm fortunate to catch up to the person, I'll toot the horn. If they roll down the window, just let them know, hey, I don't know if you happen to see the bird that landed on the road, but you hit it. And then hope that person would drive back around and make sure the bird's okay. Right? Because here you can get arrested from the local sheriff's department for the wildlife. There's a lot of crazy rules that are down here in Florida that I've come to learn more and more in the 5 years I've been down here. But the aggressiveness by the police officers, it's insane. And you had the one that was walking over to Caleb, I believe it was, and saying, big man, like at least somewhat. He was somewhat okay at the moment, right? Until the smaller one comes back with the super attitude, like, let me see your license. Let me see your license. Let me see your license. Like, bro, you're not even giving the man the opportunity to even explain yourself. Now he's trying to explain to the other officer, I'm dealing with him, right? I'm trying to talk to him. No, not you're dealing with me. Like it was, and then there's more video that goes along other than this as well, where 2 more people get put into handcuffs. Like this guy was just on a mission. What mission? I don't know. I mean, career suicide is the way I see it. Because my thing is, if you are supposed to uphold the law, uphold and defend the law. But don't turn around and then take away a person's right for speeding, which is absolutely insane. Gas Pump Guy says, like I told you before, Angel, we were talking the other day. They just put that statement out vaguely so they can go back and forth. And if they need to cover their own butts, that's exactly it. Gas Pump Guy, that's exactly it. It's insane. It really is insane. If hopefully I'm going to go out of this picture here to see if I can bring up the second video that's out there as well, where it shows, and I'm not too sure if it's still available or not, or maybe if it was taken down, but it may not be up here. But it's just, let's see if I can find it. It's just what the cops end up doing was absolutely nuts. Honest to goodness. And I'm for making sure that our law enforcement are always looking out for our best interests to make sure that things, don't escalate, that they don't go freaking nuts. None of that stuff. That's at least what we hope for. But it was over excessive. Duncan Dad says one officer definitely wanted to take someone to jail. No de-escalation at all. And you're right, Duncan Dad. You're absolutely right. And thanks for watching also and texting from the app. I do appreciate it. But no, that was it. That was it. It was just, he was just so angry. I don't know, maybe he had a bad day when he came out the house in the morning. I don't know what it was. I don't know if he's married, he has families or whatever, but he just, for whatever reason, he was in and he was out for someone. And, not saying that Tyreek Hill is the most model citizen, but every situation is different. Every situation is different. We've seen certain athletes, things have happened in their life. They went and got the proper help, talked to the proper person, and things changed, right? They went back and became someone completely different. But in this particular situation, it's lunacy to me. Now, could he have kept the window down? Yes. Would have it changed the outcome? I'm almost sold. This is just my opinion. And again, what do I know? Just in my opinion, am I completely sold that the officer would have handled the situation any different? Doubt it. Seriously doubt it. Because he just wanted to make himself known that I'm in charge. And whatever I say, you're going to do. And then to tell Tyreek that we're going to take you to jail. And Tyreek says, take me to jail. He says, I am. We will. So you already had it in your mind that you were going to take him to jail for speeding. Again, we've seen people on I-4 that fly by you. And I-4, I want to say on average, the speed limit might be at 55 at points, but people still do 15 over. They'll do 70. But you have people that will, when I mean they fly by, it feels like a flying saucer just moved your car on I-4. Now, have they cracked down a lot on I-4? Yes, the state troopers are trying to do the best they possibly can to get people to slow down because I-4, it is scary here in Florida. It is almost like putting the Roosevelt Boulevard and the Schuylkill Expressway back in Philly on steroids. How crazy it is. And people weave in and out, including the bikes, by the way, too, because they weave in and out of traffic. They know they're not supposed to. It's illegal, but they'll do it anyways. But it was over excessive force. It was just absolutely insane. And I want to see if I can bring back up as soon as I find it. When I talked about, Wilbon had made one comment about driving while black. And let's see if I get it here. But I know earlier on, Tyreek Hill, he said he was still shell-shocked and embarrassed by the detainment incident. This is credit from CNN.
You know, I was shocked, man. Like, it's crazy because it all happened so fast, man. But, like, for me, man, like, it just all happened so fast, and I really couldn't, like, gather everything that was happening. So it was crazy, you know. And me being a father, me being a husband and all that, man, I was just put myself in that situation like, hey, I got to be smart. You know what I'm saying? That's where I wasn't on that kind of energy. Like, I was chilling. Like, I was following rules. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't moving fast because, you know, I got injuries. You feel me? I got things that I go through. I play a physical sport. I've been doing this for a moment now, man. So I'm dealing with some stuff. So I guess the officers, they felt like I wasn't doing it on their timing. But I was doing it. But, you know, man, I'm still kind of shell-shocked from it, man. Like, yeah. I'm embarrassed.
So I'm going to bring up the Wilbon comment here or his quote in a minute. But this is where I kind of want to hold things for a second, though, because there were some of the comments that people are putting on social media now. When the video came out, did I repost it? Sure. Did I like it? Sure, because as I mentioned, on air at that time, Duncan Dad being there, Fuji, all of us were on air. And as I mentioned that morning, that I said the body cam will tell the truth. And that's exactly what we saw. Now, you can try and alter it if you want to, all you want, but the body cam told the truth. But for the Benevolent Association come out earlier and basically like, listen, we were right, they were wrong. In so many words in that statement is basically what they try to say. And whatever we say is right, whatever they say is wrong. This is why now we have to make sure whatever you do is try to get the facts first before you want to throw everything out there. And we saw the facts by the body cam. But when you have people that turned around and first of all, the name calling was ridiculous. The other situations that Tyreek Hill was involved with is completely a separate incident of what happened that particular day, right? So going back and saying, well, he's this and he's that and this, sure, we've some of us have had friends, some of us have family members, some of us know people that have done things in their lives, but it's different situations. Now, some have been repetitive. Some have been repetitive offenders, whether being, a shoplifter, you took an item from a store just because it was the thrill of it until eventually you got caught. But in the meantime, you probably got away with it like 100 other times. But for some of the stuff that people were putting out there on social media, listen, folks, be very wary of what you put out there. Because don't forget, what you put out there is out there forever. We see how some servers can get erased, but when it comes to your everyday stuff, somebody has it. Someone will take a screenshot of what it was, and then they'll throw it out there before you know it, and be like, uh-oh, now I got to explain myself. Gas Pump Guy says, I think I-4 is one of the worst interstates in Florida, and it doesn't help that when it gets congested, it gets worse. They will tell you how to feel, LOL. Yeah, guess from guy. But you're right, because that's pretty much what the statement said. But yeah, when it's congested I-4, it's freaking horrendous. It is absolutely horrendous. Good morning, Penguin AZ. My good hermano from the West Coast out there in AZ. Thank you very much. I got to try and get together with you later on today, Penguin AZ, about the stuff that you had sent to me the other day. So we'll get together today at one point later on this afternoon. Duncan Dad says second officer definitely cuts off lead officer to drag him out of the car. From that point, it was like a Donkey Kong that literally took him. They literally took him to the ground for not getting out of his car fast enough. Yes, keep the windows down, but it doesn't justify what happened afterwards. You meet force with greater force, but as soon as it is de-escalated, you immediately stop. You do. You immediately stop. That's what you have to freaking do. Listen, when you go through the academy, they go through all these different steps, right, of how to treat a certain situation. There's been sometimes, how many of us have been somewhere and you go out somewhere, right? You want to have a great time. It's been like a crappy week and you say, man, I can't wait to, when we go out and we're going to go out to the bar, whatever, go out to this club, we're going to enjoy the night. And then you get somebody who will run, they may do accidentally. They're walking with their friends. You happen to be closing that gap like shoulder to shoulder with a friend of yours and then they bump you, right? I want to say a good 90% of the times, people will stop and be like, oh, sorry, bro, my bad. I didn't mean it. No disrespect. All right, cool. And you keep walking. Now, if the same person comes back and does it over and over again, now you're instigating. But still to that point, you hope that you're still pretty much calm because, listen, we're human and we're going to get heated. But at the same time, you hope you stay calm enough to say, you know what? Let me take the high road here because they're looking for something. They're looking to start something. So don't put yourself in that involvement and just say, you know what, screw it. No, I'm not going to get involved. I'm just going to leave it alone. Let me calm down. Better heads will prevail. Everything will be fine, right? That's the big thing that you want to do is always try to take the higher road if all possible. Now, and we all try to put ourselves in other people's shoes. But at the same time here, think about how Tyreek felt at the same time, because yes, he is human. Yes, he does have rights just like all of us do. What if, God forbid, what if that officer was so crazy gung-ho that he literally would have pulled out his weapon and then what? We could have been talking about a whole different situation. So with Tyreek Hill still saying that he was still shaken up of what had happened? Sure. I mean, because it escalated. It went from 0 to 60 in less than 0.002 seconds. It was absolutely insane. But I want to bring up Michael Wilbon's comment here because he had mentioned, and then I'll get into Stephen A. Smith, as he had mentioned his thoughts on Tyreek Hill. And this was on Pardon the Interruption. This was yesterday. But it's just his thoughts and how he feels, as he calls it, DWB.
Wilbon, what questions does it raise in your mind?
I don't have any questions. I'm old enough and have lived long enough and have driven while black long enough. I don't have any questions. The police acted with excessive force. I don't need anybody to tell me to say allegedly. No, we got the video. They reacted in excessive ways from 1 through 10, from A through Z. Having said that, more than one thing can be true. If Tyreek Hill rolls down his window, he might have diminished the chances of that happening. I say might, because when you're driving while black, DWB as we call it, you don't have to provoke police, particularly in certain places, to get dragged out of your car. So he might have gotten dragged out anyway, but he did not attempt to mitigate those circumstances by lowering his window, which goes to a conversation many of us have to have now with our 16-year-old sons about what happens when the police stop you driving while black. So more than one thing can be true, and I think that is absolutely the case here.
That's exactly it. That is exactly it. That it was just, it was, and we've been different places, right? All of us. We all travel down the road. We've been to different areas. It's not nothing that's not new. Have I been in a situation, I'm not saying this me personally. Have I witnessed something where it just looks like, you know what? Nope, that should have been done differently. We've seen black people that have come out of like a Rolls Royce, a Bentley, Lambo, for example, like Tyreek Hill, the ones that have worked so hard in their life that now maybe they want to splurge a little bit. And so they figure, you know what? I can afford this BMW. I can afford this Mercedes-Benz. I can afford this Bentley. I'm just going to go out, mind my own business, and have a great time. Have I seen it where it's been like, what is this person a drug dealer? What's going on here? What's happening? And then you'll see where they may pull up to a restaurant, and I saw this in Philly, where they pull up to a restaurant and there's either a police officer either in the car, a couple of cars back, just sitting in the car, or the ones that are outside, and the look is almost like, how'd you get that? Now, you can read into it all you want to, but at the same time too, whatever we feel like purchasing in our life, we can purchase. If we afford it, great. If we can't afford it, that's a whole different story. But you shouldn't be judged or characterized for things because of what you want to purchase. It's like me, for example. If I want to own a pair of colorful, which I do have a pair of colorful water shoes, for example, and someone comes up to me and they say, "Oh, you're gay?" And I can tell them, "Sure, I'm happy. Thank you. Yeah, you notice that I'm happy?" It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to come up and offend me, or I got to turn around and punch their lights out because it said that. No, because now when you see people with the rainbow colors, right, it's automatically assumed that it's with the LGBT community. But because all of us, especially here in Florida, very colorful, we like to wear different colors. So should I then jump down somebody's throat because they called me gay because I'm wearing, rainbow color looking water shoes? And in the dictionary, the word gay is you're happy, right? But we're so quick to judge and we're so quick to do things. And for these officers that decided they just wanted to jump off at somebody, it's insane to me. And honest to God, it really is. So I'm going to give you Stephen A's take here. You heard Michael Wilbon's take, and he said, right, if Tyreek Hill would have left his window down, just like Duncan Dad said, just like Gas Pump Guy said, just like Pete said, a bunch of us said, sure, could it had been a little bit easier? I still think these guys were on a mission. But here's what Stephen A. Smith said on First Take.
But when it comes to Tyreek Hill, we also can't let him completely off the hook based on the statement that was made by the police department in Florida. They said, quote unquote, he was uncooperative. We have a responsibility on this show, in any kind of platform that we have, to make sure we're doing what we can to save lives, to make sure that we're doing what we can to ensure that somehow, some way, you get to live another day and fight that battle. We know how wrong they were. The police were excessive. No excuses. They should be ashamed of themselves the way they acted. They just went overboard. Totally true. Especially when it came to Calais Campbell as well, who did nothing and put his arms up. He was no threat whatsoever, okay? They told him to step back. He stepped back. He let them know that was his friend. Another teammate, Janu Smith, comes in there. He's by his car. He's on the phone. He's clearly not posing any threat. The police officers were definitely agitated. They were wrong. Here's the problem. We all came on the air seeing the initial footage in complete unadulterated support for Tyreek Hill. You pull over. They tell you to roll down your window. What's the first thing Shannon just talked about? The first thing they do when they pull us over, they pull me over, all my windows are down. My hand's on the steering wheel. That is not what Tyreek Hill did. Tyreek Hill had his window up. The officer bangs on, knocks on his window. He didn't bang on his window. He knocked on his window. You hesitated to pull it down. The first thing you say is, don't bang on my window like that. Don't bang on my window like that. Don't bang on my window like that. He asked you for your driver's license. You hesitated to give him your driver's license. You said in the post-game conference, hey, y'all, what if I wasn't Tyreek Hill? What if you weren't Tyreek Hill? What would have happened to you if somebody that wasn't Tyreek Hill kept the windows rolled up, hesitated to roll it down, didn't give you the license immediately when you asked for it, and then hesitated to get out the car when they told you to get out the car? See, we got to be responsible. And the point that I'm trying to make is this. In no way should the officers be excused for what they did. I totally agree with you, Dom, every syllable. You too, Shannon, every syllable. But I also am saying, yo, Tyreek, yo, bro, you didn't deserve that. I'm not implying that you did. But the police officers do have the power. When they pull up on you, and they tell you to roll down that window, and they tell you to give you your driver's license, and they tell you to get out that car, that's what you got to do.
Yeah, I don't.
Now, there's a couple of things there, like with Stephen A. Smith, and he's talking about that Tyreek hesitated to come out the car. Looking back at that video, as soon as that door was opened, that cop was already going in for Tyreek. So how can you tell me that you I mean, you can't open a door and fly out the door at the same time. If you can, why have a door? Just be invisible. Be like the Jeeps in the summertime when they roll around with usually like the driver and the passenger door, off. And some of them have the little band that kind of goes across to make sure you don't roll out from the Jeep. And obviously you have your seatbelt on. But I mean, to say that he hesitated, number one, I know he had Drew Rosenhaus on the phone because he wanted to let him know exactly what was going on. But that cop was already going in that car. I mean, if it would have been me, he was already going into the car. He was already going in for the kill. That's what the whole thing was. They were just so enraged. They just wanted to arrest everybody. You could have been the 15th car in front of the entire situation. It had nothing to do with thing, and they would have just rolled up on you like, what did you slow down? Or you trying to look back? We saw you looking back. De-escalate the situation. If your fellow officer is having a bad morning, or you figured, I've seen this guy go off and lose his cool. But when the three of you pull up and only one out of the three seem to be calm, and then two of you decide, no, we're going to partner up, we're going to cowboy this, you're wrong, period. The other guy, again, the shorter dude, I don't know what his situation was. And you guys hear me making fun. Listen, I make fun of my own nationality because I have fun with it. That's the way it is. It's just the way we are. I'm the only one in my family does not have the strong Spanish accent. I'm the only one. My sister has it. My dad definitely, because that's what he speaks. I want to say 98% of the times you hear my dad speak Spanish, 2% you'll hear him. It doesn't mean that he doesn't know, but he's more comfortable, obviously, speaking Spanish. Mom, the same way. My mom knows English. Stepdad, he's 50-50. For me, if I'm calling a game like I did over the weekend, and I'll get into that a little bit later on as well, but it's the same way. I've always had more American friends that speak English than I've had from, grown up in my own culture. It doesn't mean that that's what we learned first, and then I learned English as second language. But that guy and his attitude and how quick, it was like he just took the lighter fluid out. You've seen people, right? You go to the barbecue and they're like, oh yeah, light up the fire. Okay, bring the wood. Well, lighter fluid. Little bit, poof. And then you control the fire. This dude basically took, if you replace his weapon with lighter fluid, he basically took that lighter fluid out as a weapon and he's just pouring it all over the place because he was just escalating the fire. It was growing so much, I'm surprised that people weren't torched driving by. But you got to learn. Calm it down just a bit. Figure out what went wrong. If Tyreek was wrong, and just say, even if he was wrong for obviously rolling the window back up, which he was wrong because once you roll it down, leave it down because they don't know. Is it super black tinted windows? Yep. Are they illegal? More than likely. So leave it down so he doesn't feel threatened. And at that point, the cop really didn't seem like he was threatened. He was more pissed that he rolled it back up. So, that's the big thing. You got to make sure, you have to make sure that you always try to say, let me take a breath here. Let me think about this. Tyreek, let's talk. Whatever. If you already have him out the car, even I think if that cop would have been like, hold on for a second. They finally stood him up. They took him back by the tree line, right? And they removed the handcuffs because they figured they were, as they stated, they detained him for safety. Okay, so you remove the handcuffs. I think at that point, if you took a breath and you say, you know what? I think I may have been a little over the top. Maybe I was a bit too aggressive. How about we start this all over again? Could have been better? Could you have had a better relationship? Probably so. Because it's to give respect, right? To get respect is to give respect as well. So if you're supposed to be a law enforcement officer, you should just kind of let with that and just said, listen, you know what? I don't know what I was thinking. I think I got more irritated. You put the window back up, but let me explain to you the reason why. And if Tyreek Hill would have been as calm and he would have talked to him as well, and then eventually you guys would have met eye to eye, and then the rest of the officers would have gone around and said to everybody, listen, this got out of hand like real quick. Let's figure out how to make things a little bit better. Here's the deal. Even if he gave him a citation, because if he was speeding, sure, okay, you gave him a citation, and who knows? He probably could have said, listen, I honestly, I could give you a citation, but because of the situation, you didn't run over anybody, nobody got hurt. How about we let you off with a stern warning, but if it happens again, it could be a different outcome. We just have to learn how to tone it down just a little bit. Gas Pump Guy says that's the problem with going out on these, let's see, Angel, everybody's looking to get rich off of something and provoke people's just so they can get a reaction because they're doing bad in their life and they want everyone else to feel the same way. That's just my feeling. Good point. And I don't know if it was looking at the video right, but if it looked like he was banging on the window pretty good, maybe I'm wrong, but it looks like he banged on the window and not knocked on the window. There's a difference. There's a big difference. Again, big difference. Now, if there was an emergency, let's say that Tyreek Hill, no one knows. Let's just say he would have had a stroke behind the wheel. We've known there's been many cases down here in Florida where people, they report erratic behavior by somebody they think it's a drunk driver. Finally, when either the sheriff or the State Department, whoever gets there first, come to find out they had an episode behind the wheel. And of course, the cops going to, in that situation, because they have no idea, they're thinking like, oh my God, this person just ran over somebody. We're going to, manhandle them out of the car, only come to find out that they had an episode behind it. Now, there is a difference when you walk up on somebody's car. If you tap on the window, say, excuse me, sir, can you roll the window down? And if you tap again for a second time, excuse me, sir, can you roll the window down? At that point now, it's like, okay, now you're bordering on you're disobeying because he already asked you once, unless you have the sound system that you can't hear anything whatsoever, then roll the window down and then be compliant. Say what you have to say. Let him or her, depending on who pulled you over, say what they have to say, and then take it from there. But man, oh man, that was just absolute lunacy. I don't freaking get it. It's so bad. It is just so bad. So I hope there's a lesson learned from all of this. Tyreek Hill again stated that he wanted that officer fired. He also mentioned too that he wanted to do something to bring the entire community kind of like back together. And I'm pretty sure that same officer, that wasn't his first time doing something like that. The only difference was that it became a high-class video because now the public was involved and the public wanted to know what was going on. So when you wake up in the morning, and you guys will hear me say this, when you wake up in the morning, make good choices. When we wake up in the morning, we hope to make and have a good day. Sometimes the silliest things. We can go and put on our favorite coffee and go to pull it and accidentally hit it and it spills all over the place. The day is ruined. Oh my God, I can't believe it. God. And then you're frustrated, wiping things and blah, 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 and throw it in the trash can because now blood. And then when you look back at it, it's like, oh, it was spilled coffee. It was spilled milk, whatever. Matter of fact, the other day we went to the store, Debbie and myself, and she went to grab a bottle in her hand and it slipped and it broke on the floor. She got cut, I got cut, but the store that we went to, they were quick to respond, asking us if we're okay, if everything's okay. Brought out Band-Aids, brought out paper towels to make sure, to kind of stop the bleeding and stuff. And we told them, yeah, we're fine. It was just, it slipped. Things happen. Now, imagine if we would have reversed that and we would have told them, your store is unsafe. You guys have slippery bottles. So could it have been a slippery finger? Could it have been that we didn't, grip the bottle correctly? Anything. But no, they came over there. They checked. We talked, we laughed, we joked. We made sure we actually stood there and waited for them that we helped them pick up the rest of the glass so we can throw it away so that someone wouldn't come by, slip and fall, God forbid. And then it's a worse situation. But again, we have to learn. A lot of times reprogram your brain and figure out, what makes you freaking heat it, what doesn't. For the last couple of days, you guys have seen what I posted out there on social media when it comes to Facebook, because Facebook chooses upon their own, without ever responding back to you, to say, I'm going to take your life away. How am I going to do it? Just erase your memories. Like you weren't even around. erase all the hard work that you put out there for everyone to see. We're just going to take that away. Where I get upset with that is because it's bots. It's not humans. You can't call Facebook. You can, at least Google Workspace, they are more inclined to help you or at least guide you to the right place. And they do have a number where you can call in. Facebook, nah. It's easy to hide behind a computer screen, right? Just like people that have social media muscles. I'm going to call you out. And the person writes something back. I wish I could see you wherever you are. I live right here. I'm going to be right there. And the person's not there. Not saying that should happen. That's just very facetious. I'm just throwing that way out there like a 50-yard bomb. Just throwing it out there. But with Facebook, they shouldn't be allowed to do what they do. And I'm not the only one. There's a bunch of people that's having that as well. Where I just get really upset is, who are you to take away me and my presence? Who? Brazil's going through right now. They're in the streets. Why? Because God forbid you say something about your country on X, they come to your house and arrest you. In England, it's happened a bunch of times. That is a scary thought. That is a really scary thought. Again, you want to keep your freedom free? I mentioned it at the very top of the show when we did our tribute to 9/11. Make sure you put the right people into place. That's just the beginning, folks. It's just the beginning. If they take away your voice, who else and what else are they going to take away? Are they going to start putting, when you go sell a house and the realtor comes by and they put the box outside on your door handle or something else, you have to punch in the key code. Now, a lot of them have it where you take, like a regular, whatever, they take a card and they put it up to the metal thing and beep, the thing opens up and allows the person to enter the home. So I want you to think about that. How long before they start telling you what time you can and cannot leave the house? Let's not forget COVID. Let's not forget a lot of folks up in the Northeast. I don't know why it took you 2 years to leave the house, but boy, did they have that control over you. Here in Florida, that lasted all about 3 months. After that, everybody was like, we outside. Everybody else, I don't know why it was such a delay. And if anybody really thought about it, you wear a mask. How many times they've worn masks in China? How's that worked out for them? How? People still pass away. You're supposed to not breathe back in what your body is expelling. You can also learn that in health records, right? But stop letting people that you have no clue who they are take away your voice, take away your freedom, take away your memories. Don't let them do it. If I'm an investor of Facebook, I'm pulling my money out. Why? Because to me, you're telling me I'm pumping money into your company so you can take away from others. So I'm going to leave that at that. After the break, I'm going to come back and there's a couple of skirmishes, fights, whatever you want to call it, that I'm going to show to you guys. And one of them was the other night with the Raiders and the Chargers, a fight that broke out in the end zone. And then it kind of spilled outside to the fans that were in the stands. And this is when, and I absolutely love it, and if Duncan Dad is still listening in, this is where I absolutely love when, why is it if another stadium, another venue, another part of our great nation, there's a fight that goes on, it's never put out there. Never. But if it's Philly, boy, oh boy, are we in the spotlight everywhere. God forbid something would have happened in Brazil. And from what I understand from other reports, all the Philly fans absolutely loved it. The locals that were Eagles fans, they absolutely loved the Phillies fan, and that's great. But it's funny when things happen at other stadiums. Now, the only time I think last year we heard something about it, and it was so unfortunate, was when it was in Foxborough, where a Patriots fan chose to attack another Patriots fan and end up taking that person's life. It's sports, everybody. Sports. We can laugh, we can joke, we can say whatever we want to, but man, when you have to go fisticuffs, that makes absolutely no sense. Duncan Dad says the West Coast is so much worse. And I believe it. I freaking believe it. I believe it. There's so many fights that came. The Allegiant Stadium out in Vegas, there are tons of them. Nobody ever puts them out. Or if they used to put them out, Jack Dorsey used to take them off. At least Elon will leave it up there. But it cracks me up with a lot of stuff. So after the break, we'll get into a little bit more. I'm going to take a little bit of a water break here. You guys are listening to Martinez & Company. I am Angel Martinez, host of Martinez & Company. Duncan Dad says, fans said that there were at least 9 separate fights during that game. That's insane. That really is insane. You think about it. You pay your hard-earned money to go watch a sporting venue, and you got to worry about some bozo because they want to get into a fight with somebody else. God almighty. We need to listen. We need to really kind of come to grips and figure out what the plan is to figure out how much we need to get along with each other and support one another, because it is getting ultra scary with a lot of stuff that's going on in society today. Ultra scary. Our good friend Jay says, combo of society plus we all have phones, cams now. That's so true, Jay. That is so true. Everybody, what is a world star? Everybody wants to be world star. Everybody. Oh, what happened over there? Grab your phone. World star. You'll hear the person say it. It's insane. It really is. Joey B, as the comments are coming in fast and furious, don't forget you guys can text the show as well. Call into the show, 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. Joey B says, NFL, I don't take my family to games any longer. Sad. The state of the fans in the stadiums is really, really bad and sad. It's true. And Joey B is not the only one. It's true. I mean, baseball stadiums are not safe either, because we've seen fans go freaking ballistic. We see it out, in Yankee Stadium in New York. We've seen it at times, out at Citizens Bank Park. We've seen it with, I think the Reds had an incident not too long ago. But that's just it. Everybody's quick to get their phone out. Why can't, if something's about to escalate, why can't we quick to react and say, whoa, what's going on here, right? Everybody come down for a second. Hold on. What's going on? Nope. What do? World star. I got it. It's just ridiculous. And for those who aren't able to see exactly what I was doing on Digital Sports Radio, I had my phone up towards the camera and yelling out World Star. It's insane. Jay says, I live 2 blocks from the biggest stadium in the USA. Minimal problems. I think a bigger problem with pro teams. It is. Jay, that's the other thing that kind of makes me laugh too, is you realize that, for example, I'll use because I'm an Eagles fan. As Jay says, that lack of respect, let me bring it up, lack of respect and reflection on society. It is. It very much is. And you could have been raised right, don't get me wrong. Once you're away from your house, you're an adult. But you hope that whatever the family values were instilled into you, that you carry on into the rest of the world. Joey B comes up and says, 1 game, 4 tickets, 4 Cokes, 4 hot dogs, parking, $1,000 plus a day here in Denver, basically. It's ridiculous. And then people fighting. The NFL has some underbelly issues. That is nuts. It is crazy how much it costs. And there's some places, Vegas not too long ago, and I still think they did it. And I'm not even talking about where all the action is. The old Vegas, what's the one hotel that's out there is Circus. We're charging $100 for the event parking, $100. Come on, man. How in the world can we do this, folks? Jay says that the comments are coming in fast and furious now. NFL always been rough. Shep and I can tell you stories about the old stadium in Foxborough. I believe it, Jay. Trust me, I believe it because I resided in New England. So my family has been in New England for many, many years. Every summer we used to go up there. Christmas time we used to go up there. And then I spent years 85 through 88, at least until May when I graduated. But I spent 3 years up there. I saw stuff. I can see it at Fenway. I saw stuff there in New England. New England's, like I said, it's everywhere. It's not just, in one area, but it drives me in particular that they don't want to ever show any other venue. But if it's Philly, it's on the map quick. Someone quickly will throw it out there and then everything will come out even before the facts are even told. So it's absolutely insane. I did see the Gas Pump Guy also wrote something in as well. Gas Pump Guy says everybody wants to be internet famous, and I think that's what the problem is with society, is everybody wants to try to be famous off of somebody else's turmoil. It's true. Those who know me, if you ever get anything from me where it looks like it's on TikTok, I don't have TikTok. My wife would tell you, that's not me. That's probably one of the only social medias that I do not what's the word I'm looking for? I don't subscribe to. I don't care about TikTok. I didn't care for it when it first came around. And people tell me, why don't you get it? Because I don't care for TikTok. But that's what the problem is. You have all these people that they want to put something together. Look how many school fights, right? People are going to lunch or whatever, and you see these school fights, and they put it out there. Everybody's got their camera out. Everybody will follow the fight everywhere, right? They don't care if it's across the parking lot, up the stairs, on the helicopter pad, they parachuted back down to the ground. Somewhere, someone will follow that camera all the way down. Instead of someone saying, hey, hold on for a second, stop. Now, it doesn't mean that you won't get sucker punched in a process, because we've seen videos like that as well. But it's true. Everybody, listen, phones, the internet, social media, is it a great thing? Yep, it's been a great thing. I think for a lot of folks that are around today had no clue the kind of fun that we had to have when we were growing up, when we had, our telephone that we used to love. Once we figured out was take 2 cans and a piece of string in between it. And guess what? Like my neighbor next door, I could basically reach out, hand the can to my neighbor next door, and he would grab it, and we'd just call each other up. Hey, what are you doing? Nothing. We're getting ready to play. Yep. Right? It's just, it is absolutely insane. Let me go back to this one. As Jay says, it could be done, by the way. Detroit, of all places, had the draft back in April, and we had 0 problems. That is absolute truth, because I didn't see anything coming out of that one. Thankfully, I will say, when I was in Philly for the draft as well, we had no issues. There were no fights. Everybody got along, and everybody that came in. Now, that might be the one and only time, I will say, Jay, in defense of Philly fans, it's probably the only. Now, it doesn't mean when Dallas fans showed up, then they get the Dallas sucks chant, because you're going to get it regardless. But no matter what, nobody went out there and started a fight because you were a Bengals fan, Patriots fan, Chargers fan, Cowboys fan, whatever. They're not going to, at the link, and as much as people like to just talk and say whatever, I'm going to give you a quick story before I get into the other 2 comments here. Thank you, Jay, for all the comments that are coming in. Jay, Duncan Dad, Rick for calling in earlier, Gas Pump Guy. The one thing that when the Eagles went to the Super Bowl, this is at the end of 2017, beginning of 2018, there was a broadcast that was going on with 94 WIP. And this guy decided to come down out of nowhere, come down and just open his mouth up. And he was a Vikings fan. And so the 2 broadcasters at the time had stopped and mentioned to him, because they could look at me and look to say, who's that guy? I'm like, I don't know. He's just freaking yelling. So they stopped and talked to him. And he was a Minnesota fan. Mind you, less than 20 yards away, there were at least, I want to say, 50 to 60 Vikings fans. They were all just celebrating. They were laughing. And you could see Eagles fans sprinkled in with the Vikings fans, because they weren't looking to start anything. They wanted to come enjoy the Philly experience and have fun and tailgate. So this is at the Metro lot. They mentioned to the guy, said, listen, whatever you do, and they had to stop the interview because he kept, throwing out foul language. And obviously at the time, not like any different today, but the FCC is going to heavily fine you. You're like, no, come on, just cut it out and, let this guy go. And F this, F you guys, F the city, F the Eagles, blah, 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 blah. And you could tell he had one too many drinks. And I'm not condoning this, so I want everybody to hit the brakes here for a second. When he got up, he was told by me, by the other 2 broadcasters, and the other people that were there, if you are going to the stadium, I would suggest, and all of us would suggest, don't say a word, because down that little alley you're about to go down right now, if you open up your mouth, you're probably going to get it. And the guy turned around and looked at us and like, I wish someone effing would. And there he goes. So they come out of the commercial break. The guy got stopped by 2 or 3 other people. And I think they were Vikings fans or whatever. And he's even telling his own Vikings fan, F you, I don't freaking need your help. And so they walked away. I want to say it was about a minute back into the broadcast. And then all you hear is this mass melee. And then you see the police, the Philly police on horseback charging in the area where we all were. And it must have been about 4 horses that raced right by us. And who was it? That same Vikings fan that decided he wanted to go through the crowd, instigate, and then apparently throw a punch or two to somebody else. Even from what I understood from the initial report was even when someone tried to stop him and walk with him, and he decided to choose, to have a fight, that was his choice. So fans sometimes, I get it, we get nuts, we go crazy. I get it, I understand it. Sometimes it's fun and good fun, but don't go somewhere and you want to start chaos, and then if something happens to you, I mean, you instigated it. Not saying that's right. I'm not condoning violence whatsoever. So you guys relax with a lot of that stuff. My thing is that if you go somewhere to a venue, it's like me going down to Dallas and I quickly mutter, Dallas sucks. And somebody hears, what'd you say? I was like, Dallas sucks. And then the person laughs and we can laugh about it. I'm like, Eagles suck too, right? And then me and this unknown person can walk through it. Eagles suck, Dallas suck. Eagles suck, Dallas. It's like Miller Lite, tastes great, less filling. Same nonsense. But it just depends on how you handle yourself. Gas Pump Guy, before I get back to Jay's comment here. Gas Pump Guy says, damn, that was a quick break. I didn't even hear it. LOL. Yeah, it was. A super quick break because I didn't even get into it. Although we got to pay the bills around here. So that's, I got to make sure I'm getting into the break. And then I'll get into the a couple of the videos here. Let me go back to Jay here for a second. Jay says, Foxborough Pats no night games forever because of issues at the stadium. Remember, Foxborough is a small town and the stadium is very remote, literally surrounded by homes and businesses, almost like Fenway and Wrigley. Yeah, and it's true because Fenway is, and Wrigley for that matter too. If you guys have not been out there, those are two. If you need a bucket list of stadiums, Fenway, Wrigley for sure. Definitely go out there. And I was fortunate enough, which I said to Joey B. I wish Joey B was in town, but I know he had I think he had an event or something else too. He was out of town when we went to Denver last year. I went to Coors Field, had a great time, an absolute great. Now, of course, I didn't have any Philly stuff with me because we went for a wedding. I think the only shirt that I brought with me might have been one Eagles shirt. And that night, I know for a fact I didn't wear anything Philly. Not because I didn't want to, it's because when we had left from the hotel and we were riding around everywhere, I didn't even get a chance to even go back to get changed or whatever. Jay says, let me go back to this first one. Jay follows up with, LOL, Philly has a bad rep. The Santa Claus and Michael Irvin story is legendary. Yeah. Yep. 2017 didn't have an angel. And yeah, for Minnesota fans, yeah, I know. Lambeau too. Yeah, that's true. Lambeau that's another one. If you got another bucket list, put her on there. That's another one. Thanks, Jay, for that one as well. And then Jay says that Coors Field is also a great call. It is. I had a blast. I had so much fun. I guess truthfully, we got super lucky because we went to watch a game that evening. San Diego Padres were in town. And it started with, there was already like rough weather in the area. So there was a delay at the start of the game. And then the game went on. Then they brought out the tarps. And that was fun watching the crew putting the tarps out there. And the PA announcer, he decided he put on, I want to say like one song in relation to the rain. By the time he put on the second one or the third one, people were like, I get it. We're in the rain delay. He's playing rain songs. After about the 10th song, I was like, all right, dude, we get it. It's raining. But nonetheless, it was a lot of fun. And it was, I will say that I absolutely love Denver. I thought it was a great city. We had such a great time walking around. No one harassed us. No matter where we went, we had an absolute great time out there in Denver. Jay says the rocks, seats, and center, Coors Field. Yep. Yippers. We didn't. So we passed by it. Did not sit there. We ended up sitting on the first base line, the second tier up is where we ended up sitting. Second tier, or was it third? No, third tier up because we were in a 300 level. But man, we had such a great time, such great hospitality by everybody. And we saw a bunch of other fans over there too, that they all went in because they heard that Coors Field was the place to be. And I loved it. I thought it was a great ballpark. I know it's a little bit older now at this point, but I mean, where it's located and the attractions around it, I had such a great time there. It was an absolute fantastic time. All right. Because we got about some 18 minutes or so before we close out the show. Thank you all for tuning in today. We do appreciate it. At least I do here on the Coastal Sports Network. It's not the easiest thing, if you guys have heard me before, being the CEO of the company, being the host, being co-host, executive producer, not only to Pete, but also to the Drive with Q from 3 to 5, my hermano Rich Quinones, and then also being the executive producer for our Monday night football shows with Lloyd Vance, Insider Football. And then tonight, Talking to Hoops from 8 to 9 p.m. It's a lot of stuff that goes on. And then just looking up stuff that I want for my own show, it makes it, kind of nuts with everything I have here within the studio. But I thank you guys for not only tuning in, for watching us here on social medias, for texting like Duncan Dad did and putting his comments on the live app. Thanks to you guys who download the app, and don't forget you can do so by visiting sr1029thegame.com. Share it amongst your friends. Therefore, you guys don't miss a show, because the way I always say it is, if you're at home and you're about to step out, or you're at the gym, your home gym, but you want to now venture out and go to the other gym outside, you can watch the video player within the app, go in your car, Bluetooth into your car, listen in on the radio app, and then when you arrive at your next location, you can pick up the video right back where you left off, because we don't ever want you to watch a video as you're driving. You should always be attention 10-2, look forward, and make sure you look around your surroundings, use your peripherals. So that's the best advice that I can say. But we thank you all for making your comments here live on social media. Don't forget you can text and call into the show, 727-858-6650. Gas Pump Guy says Denver is great because everyone is so relaxed because of the medical stuff that is out there, LOL. Yeah, there was a lot of it. Pikes Peak was absolutely outstanding. And then we found Buffalo Bill's gravesite, that overlook in that area where you can see down to Coors, the brewing company. Man, that was great. We had I want to say a couple of days. We're probably in the high 90s, but in the evening, it gets so cool. Denver's I had fun. I enjoy it. I can't wait to go back there. It's going to be a great time. All right. We will take a quick break this time, for sure. And then when I come back, I'm going to show a couple of videos that I found kind of interesting where they won't show anywhere else. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. It's one of those things. But we will watch that. That's how we'll end up closing out the show. Don't forget, folks, it is 9/11. Let's never forget this date in our history. Thank a first responder. Thank a policeman, a firefighter, someone that works in the community, anyone that has served, including friends, family, and people you don't even know, because there are a lot of folks that have retired that may have worked somewhere and they could have been part of that day, as we all were that day. So just remember this day, never forget it. It is 9/11. And we want to make sure that we never forget this day in our world history. All right. We'll come back into some just a little bit of nutty video. We'll end up closing out the show. Again, you are listening to Martinez and Company here on the Coastal Sports Network and Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. We'll be right back.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jim and the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu.
Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it gardenia. It's pronounced Jardiniere.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And, with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have any body to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. I know you won't, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Just follow us on the socials. Call or text the show 727-858-6650 and let us know what's on your mind. Now back to Martinez and Company.
All right. Everybody, welcome back here. 11:51 here on this Wednesday, 9/11, as we are getting ready to wrap up the show. And of course, we never forget our men and women, not only that protect our community and countries, those who served our great nation, and the folks who end up passing away that day on 9/11. We hope that it never happens again in our lifetime. We hope, and never forget 9/11. Now, to end the show with here, and it's kind of ironic, right? We talk about 9/11, and then there's some stuff we're going to show here towards the very end. None of these people were killed. Let me put that out there as a disclosure. But the reason why I bring this up, because what you guys will end up seeing, those who are listening in on the Digital Sports app, the Raiders and the Chargers the other day, of course, Harbaugh, his debut for the Chargers, who ended up being the Raiders. I don't think anybody should have been shocked about that one whatsoever, although the Raiders with their head coach from last season now taking over the helm this full season for the Raiders. But this happened in the end zone. And I'll describe to the ones who are listening on the Digital Sports app is basically it became quite a little bit of a melee in the end zone. This was, again, between the Raiders and the Chargers.
Just have Herbert do one play. Oh, my gosh.
My goodness. This is going on and on.
Whoa.
Quentin Johnston. There's a one-on-one. It was Marcus Epps and Quentin Johnson. It is still going on.
neither one of these teams are going to back down, but you got to be intelligent.
Now, the one thing I've never understood, and maybe just me, you throw a punch with someone that has a helmet on. I'm just going to throw it. I'm tossing it up, right? Just like a layup. I'm going to toss it up there like a layup, and it doesn't make any sense to me. You throw a punch with someone with a helmet on. Gotcha. Joey B says that Jay, speaking truth here once again, outstanding. Yes. This Jay, if you guys have not realized, Jay, who comes on with Pete, should be just about every Tuesday. Jay Flannelly. Tuesdays, 8:30. Could be sometimes 8 o'clock, maybe 9 o'clock. Jay has become a great contributor here, just like you guys as well. But you guys will hear more and more of Jay. And if you've missed it, go back and watch the episodes, at least the audio version of it. Jay puts out great information with Pete. But here is, which I don't understand. I'm going to show you two different versions of a fight here. Here's one where it was a female Raiders fan got punched in the face. It was hit multiple times by a fellow Vegas fan. Now, this is probably about 2 seconds long. And even this doesn't make any sense to me. This is a fight that again, this is out there in Charger land. Now, the guy swings in. Again, it makes no sense. You should never hit a woman, period. But it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, and again, the reason why I bring this up, because Philly fans, they're always, they put us on blast and everything else. Now, if that's not enough, again, Raiders fans, here's another one. A Raiders fan body slammed a female to the ground. Just a couple feet away from the one fan was hit so hard in the head, he was out cold. There were multiple huge fights. And again, I don't condone violence. It doesn't make any sense. But the reason why I bring this up, because again, there's a lot of times that Philly is always put in a spotlight, but nowhere else. But even this one doesn't make any sense. Now, it doesn't make any sense there. And the reason why I bring this stuff up, because we had mentioned throughout the show today about what phones and how people want to go viral. And the reason, which is a perfect example of this, is that instead of someone coming in to kind of break this up, everybody has their phones out. Now, the one guy in the video, what it seemed like he was trying to pull the other guy off from a Chargers fan. Now, I don't know if the guy in the Raiders t-shirt happened to confuse him for the other guy, but then he gets knocked out cold, and then both guys end up punching him. I listen, if you can't go out to a venue somewhere and enjoy yourself, it's absolutely insane. I think there was one more, or I could be wrong. Maybe there isn't. Maybe not. Or if I do find it, maybe I'll bring it up a little bit later on, but it doesn't make any sense to me. How deep do we have to get? Honestly, how much money you already spend on tickets and jerseys, all that stuff that comes along with the event, with the stadiums? Oh man, I don't get it. There's so much violence in this world where it should be like, Debbie and I will sit down. We try to live as drama-free as possible. If we were to have a camera, and who knows, I might do it. I may do it. Just throwing it out there. I'm pretty sure she's listening. She's out with her mom right now. I might just one day, just for the heck of it, I might just have a camera follow us around all over the place. Because we really, really, for the most intense purposes, try and live drama-free. Because there's always enough drama. So what do? We'll put on TLC. We'll watch like the 90 Day Fiancé, 90 Day the other way, 90 Day before the 90 days, 90 Day Tell-All. Because if you don't have it in your own life, sometimes it's just funny to watch people and the stuff they end up, again, as long as there's no harm and violence. I'm not saying anything you watch where it's harmful or violent is obviously, something you want to take in. But like 90 Day the other way, a lot of this stuff is just ridiculous. And is some of it scripted? Yes. But it's just like some of the issues that people come up with, it's absolutely insane. Joey B says Angels more concerned about the reverse sunburn in Buccaneers games. Now all these fights, what the F? That's true. Thanks, Joey B, for reminding me that. Yeah, by the way, if you guys have not been down here, I don't know if, and Jay, maybe you can let me know about this one too. Maybe it could be. Ray J could be on a bucket list just because of the Buccaneers boat out in the end zone and the upgrades they've done. You know what? I can say it is a destination, but to inform you of what Joey B just said there in his comment is, yes, you can get a reverse suntan and probably the only stadium, and unless, I don't know, maybe out there, Seattle, maybe. But because of the concreteness of what is Ray J, the sun bounces off. If you're on the visitor side, no different than obviously the home side, depending on what time of the game it is, but the sun bounces off that concrete, and I swear you get a reverse tan. I have gotten fried. Debbie and I have gone to a couple preseason games and gotten fried at the event. And I think the biggest one where I got fried was when the Eagles and the Bucs played. This is when Nick Foles was still around. It's the year that we had won the Super Bowl. The team had won. Like if I play for the Eagles. As a fan, where the Eagles won the Super Bowl and they came into town, and I went to Ray J, I was scorched. And then last year wasn't as bad though, because last year when I covered USF on the field, it was hot, but I didn't get fried. I will say that much. Because then at halftime, we kind of ended up getting some shade. And then obviously after the game, it was a later afternoon game. So by the time the game was over, the sun was already down. But you can get a reverse tan. If you don't know what it is, you'll find out when you go down to Ray J. But yeah, concrete, unbearable. But, I never have condoned violence. And the reason why we watch half of the shows that we end up watching, because it's funny. For example, today is, goodness gracious. There's one on Netflix. It's a series. It'll come to me. I know I'll remember it after it's over. But basically what ends up happening is, and I think it's actually a pretty cool show. You'll have it. We've watched it by now. You would think it'd be embedded in my brain. I think now it's season 6. But what ends up happening is they used to go, I think, to England first, and now they decided to do it here stateside. And I think the last one they filmed was in Chicago. But so there's a group of 6 that first start out, 6 or 7. And what happens is they put you in these apartments and you never make eye contact with this person. And then you set up a profile. And then when you put the profile together, you can either A, be a catfish, or B, play yourself. Now, I want to say as of now, it's probably still about 82%-ish where people will play themselves. But we've seen guys have played their girlfriends, another, like actual girlfriends. There was the guy from last season where he played as his friend girl. I guess to put it backwards, he's male, his best friend is a female, and he was a nurse. And honestly, at the very end of it, I'm trying to remember, I believe he did win. And in the beginning, it was like, oh man, I can't believe he's actually doing this. But in the end of it, it was really, really cool how it ended up all coming together. But it's just, if you've never seen it, and if not, I'll tweet it out there on social media for everyone who ended up following in. But it's cool because it's pretty much like an experiment. So you put these people in these apartments. They don't have no idea. And Joey B, I don't know if you can kind of scroll through Netflix. I can't at the moment because obviously from being on air. But what ends up happening is you have the ability of getting on. Matter of fact, I wonder if I can look it up here on my handy dandy tablet here. But you have the ability of watching these people and see if I can bring it up without it making me sign in. But basically what ends up happening is you can watch these folks and they come into these, they'll come into the apartment. They all get assigned a different one. All right, I'll have to look at it a little bit. But anyways, so they go into these apartments, you get assigned a profile, and it's your profile. Whatever you want to make up, you can take pictures. All this has got to happen prior to you arriving in the apartment. And then what ends up happening is you have to either build basically either a bond with that person, or you and 2 other people basically say, all right, you know what? We're going to unite and we're going to see each other all the way to the very end. And at the very end, there's 5 people that go in and they vote each other at the very end on who believes should end up winning the money. And it's really neat because you'll get to see how people act without meeting that person physically. All you're doing is going by what they put up on the message boards, and then what they put up there as their profile pictures and how they interact with everyone else. I just think it's quite interesting. And then who knows, maybe one day it'll become like an experiment where you'll go somewhere and find out, is this person really who that person says they are? But if I think about it later on, I'll post it up there so everybody can enjoy. But listen, thank you all for tuning in today. I do appreciate it. Thank you for those who download the SR1029, the game app. I do appreciate that as well. You can download it directly from the homepage. If you try to download it from the Google or the Apple Store, that is the old version of the app, and you will not hear anything because it is no longer available as far as the way I used to do things before. Once I pivoted over to Coastal Sports Network, there's a lot of things I ended up revamping, including making my own app. So it is not available in the stores yet. It takes about 4 months for everything to kind of clear and finally make its way to the stores. That's why I always say to everybody, download it directly from the website, right on the homepage. Download the app, therefore you won't miss any of the shows. Like, for example, Pete Shepard in the morning for the Pete Shepard Show from 7 to 10 a.m. Myself, Angel Martinez Company, Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 10 to 12 Eastern Standard Time. And then, of course, my hermano Rich Quinones, The Drive with Q from 3 to 5 p.m. Monday nights, Lloyd Vance's Insider Football from 8 to 9:15. And then tonight, following Q at 8 o'clock, we'll be talking hoops with Coach Johnson, Coach Mack, Ron Briscoe. That will be on later on in the network as well. I did see Gas Pump Guy did send a couple of messages before I sign off here. Great show. Can't wait for Friday to call in when we all get together and make our picks. That is true. I've been to Rage a couple of times, and it was a really good experience. Yes, because Gas Pump Guy does live here locally in the area. Lives down in Fort Myers. But yeah, Gas Pump Guy also another contributor here to the show where he calls in, does his weekly segmented picks. Not as far as what we're doing. And you guys can also, you can visit the website as well. And what you're going to end up doing is you can actually look on the website and you'll see our pigskin pick, even though, yes, it's already a week away because the season's already started. Just join. You never know. Sometimes people have horrendous weeks and then the following week they have a better week. So you can always end up joining in that way as well. So thank you all for tuning in. For Joey B, Jay, Duncan Dad, Rick Marcus for his phone call in earlier. And again, folks, never forget 9/11. Always keep it in the back of your mind. Always keep it in your heart. And let's never forget those who ran to danger that day to try to save other family members. With that being said, take care of one another. Make good choices. Make sure you love yourself as you love others. Have yourselves a great day. We will talk to you on Friday. Don't forget The Drive with Q later this afternoon from 3 to 5 p.m. You have been listening to Martinez & Company on the Coastal Sports Network and Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Have yourselves a great rest of your day.